It snowed today for the first time, and I got to see it because I had to be in the lab very early. It's just before 9 a.m. and I have a very busy day today, so I will try to film some of it, hopefully.
Hi everyone, I thought I would try my hand at doing a voiceover for once, because as you will be able to see, most of my work in the lab involves putting clear colored liquid into other tubes of mostly clear colored liquid, and that is exactly what I'm doing right now. I'm preparing my samples for a PCR condition, and the fit check is of course always mandatory. And while the PCR is running, thankfully we have a machine for that, so I don't have to do anything. But I am preparing my gels that I will be using to check if my PCR actually worked. This does involve some fun-ish work with the scalpel, and these gels are made from agarose. They're quite thick, they're 2%. Usually you work, well, I work between 0.8 and 2%, but 2% is what we need for these samples that I have, because the gel is quite thick and it allows me to see the bands better. And this is where we have the assembly station, if that's what you want to call it. We put the gel into some buffer, make sure that it is completely submerged. Sometimes that can take some extra liquid, but usually that's fine by just adding some more into it. Very rarely I have to exchange the whole thing, because I see some other bits of leftover gel from other people floating in there, but that day thankfully it was quite clean. And once again, you have just pipetting of my samples into the gel itself. I remember learning this in undergrad, and at the time it seemed very difficult, but by now I'm so used to it that honestly it does not bother me anymore in the slightest. And usually for these samples we put a coloring agent in there as well, so what I'm also doing is I'm pipetting up and down a few times within the sample, because I added my dye previously and I just need to make sure that the dye is evenly distributed throughout the sample. And then it looks like this. We let it run for about 20 minutes, and afterwards we put it into a little metal box with another liquid, which is going to stain it. Hopefully they should be at the right size, and putting them in the staining liquid will allow me to visualize that with this lovely machine right here. Those are my bands, well, my gels just in there. We close it up and then we turn on the UV lamps on the side, and there we are. That was what I expected, and we have this lovely machine to print out the pictures. I love it very much. This is from another experiment that I'm doing afterwards. So here we have some of these samples that from the gel that I extracted, and I am now using the big centrifuge that is so broken, so very broken, to purify the DNA again from the gel. And that is quite tedious, but after a while we are done, and then they get a lovely hot bath in 95 degrees. And this is the sequencing plate that we use, because what I am essentially doing is I'm using this super scary fancy machine to check the exact DNA sequence of the samples that I purified earlier. And this just involves a little bit of prep, but then essentially once we are ready we can just put it into the big machine. Thankfully, once the samples are ready we can just put them into the big machine, make sure they are all safe and secure, label them all correctly, of course, but then we just put them in, we close it, and then we let the machine calibrate itself. Which always makes a super fun little robot noise. Hello people, it is currently 6:50 p.m. and I'm waiting for my sequencing run to finish, so that's gonna take 12 more minutes, and then I need to get my results, go upstairs, turn off the machine, then go upstairs, look at the results that I got on our sequence analyzer software. So I will probably not get out of here until 7:30, which is rare, thankfully. Usually I finish around 5, between 5 and 5:30, I would guess, but today has been very, very busy. I've been here since 9 a.m, which is so fun. But yeah, hoping, praying that all goes well with this sequencing run. Please guys, pray with me. Everyone say a prayer right now, because I really, really don't want to have to redo any of this. Guys, we didn't pray hard enough. The results, they're not bad necessarily, they're just not amazing. So it is 7:18, so I'm going home. However, when I come back tomorrow, I will probably have to do some more sequencing, which is annoying, but anyway, my supervisor's looking at the data now to maybe see if we can get a little bit more out of it, because the software we're using is good, but it's sometimes you just need a human eye. Ugh, it's cold. Anyway, I'm going home, and because it's after 7, I will be getting my dinner from 7-Eleven, because I cannot be bothered to cook after a 9-hour workday. Well, not quite, we did have a lecture, and we had an hour and a half of lunch break, but at least it's not raining. Small wins.